Today we're going to attempt to verify if it is in fact cheaper to buy a house in Miami than it is to rent, and this is going to be based on a recent study that came out which I highlighted in my last video, and in case you guys missed that video, the link is down below, so go ahead and check it out. This study pointed out that in 2/3 of the country it's actually cheaper to buy a median price 3-bedroom 2-bathroom home in 2/3 of the country, and one of the places on the list was Miami. So of course we're going to start with Miami because I live here in Miami, I work as a real estate agent here, and I'm really curious to see if in fact this is true. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to head over to realtor.com and verify what is the median listing price for a home here in Miami. And by the way, you can do this and follow along at home for any area you would like to. You just change it to the city and the area that you want to check out, but you can definitely follow along with this video and verify this for yourself in other areas of the country. You just go to realtor.com, you'll land on this home page right here. And what you want to do is you want to type in any market that you want to look up. We're going to look up Miami, and you want to make sure you put in home value here. So we're going to look up home value, and this is going to give you the overall snapshot of the market in Miami. This is how many homes are for sale, how many are for rent, and the median listing price in Miami is $395,000. And notice, guys, that whenever they outline on the map here Miami, they don't include Miami Beach. And the reason is because Miami Beach is a separate town. So Miami Beach is completely separate than Miami, which a lot of people don't understand if they're not from here, they don't live here. And Miami Beach is way more expensive, and I'm not sure how these numbers would hold up here, but we're going to use Miami as an example. Let's look for a house in Miami. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go Miami homes for sale, and we're going to punch in the specific criteria before we do anything. We're going to do single family home only, right? And then we're going to do 3-bedroom 2-bathroom, and then the price is going to be $400,000 or less, because that is roughly the median listing price here in Miami. So let's see what we come up with. So I want to choose a house that's very close to the actual median listing price. So since $395 is the number, we're going to look for something $395, maybe one of these houses that's $399. So let's go with this one right here. It's $399,000. It's got a 1-car garage. It's got a nice little driveway. Let's check it out. So we're not going to get hung up on all the details of the house, because we're going to do the same search for a rental in the same neighborhood to determine if it's actually cheaper to buy than it is to rent. Okay? So let's look at the monthly payment. According to realtor.com, it would cost $1,944 a month to own this house, and that's with a 20% down payment. So that's almost $80,000, guys. And most people, when they buy a single family house like this, they don't actually put a 20% down payment. Most people will put anywhere between 5 and 10%, sometimes maybe a little bit more, but in general, most people usually don't put down 20%. That's usually something that investors do. When you want to buy an investment property, you have to put down that much or more, but typically owner occupants don't put that much down, and they opt to have the higher monthly payment and get into a house for much less money up front. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at where this house is on the map, okay? So this house is near Kendall Lakes. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up another tab in realtor.com, and we're going to look for a rental house near this house, okay? So let's look for rentals. And we're going to punch in the same criteria for the house. But we're not going to filter out the price because we want to see if it's actually cheaper to buy than it is to rent. So we're going to go single family only again. And 3-bedroom 2-bath. All right. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually check near this area, Kendall Lakes, because we want it to be right in the same neighborhood as the other house to make it as comparable as possible. So there's not too many houses for rent in this area. It looks like the going rate is probably about 2,500. You have one here, one here, one here, 2,700. Let's use this one for 25. It's pretty close to that house. It looks like it's just a few blocks away, actually. So I think that would be a pretty good comparison to use. All right, $2,500. Let's take a look. This house does appear to be a little bit smaller, but for argument's sake, let's just roll with it and run some calculations, okay? In order to move into a rental like this, you're gonna need 3 months rent in advance. So that's gonna put you at $7,600 total to move into this house. That's 3 months rent, plus let's say a $100 application fee, which is pretty normal for any rental here. And then if we look back at the other house, since the down payment to move in is almost $80,000. Let's just round it to 80,000 because it's so close. So remember, we're also going to have closing costs, and closing costs can be roughly about 2% of the purchase price of the property when you're financing. So let's run with 2% as the closing cost for this house. So we have the $80,000 down payment, and then we have 2% of the purchase price at closing, and that's going to run you an extra $8,000. So we're talking a total of $88,000 down to buy this house. So right off the bat, when you first move in, it's going to cost $80,000 more than the rental to move in. But when you look at the monthly factor, when you're talking just living in the house for the first year, in order to live in the house that you bought, it's going to cost you $23,232 for the first year, and for the rental, it's going to cost you $30,000. And then, of course, when you live in the house, you're going to have your basic utilities like your electric, your cable, your internet, your water, plus your lawn maintenance if you're not cutting the grass yourself. But just to keep things simple, we're going to focus just on the monthly rental and the monthly mortgage payment. And one thing to remember, guys, when you buy a house, anything that goes wrong in the house, it's on you. If the roof starts leaking, you got to fix it. If the water heater breaks, you need to replace it. If you need a new washing machine, it's on you. When you're renting, you don't have to pay for any of those things. Usually the leases here in Florida stipulate that if there's any repairs over like $150, that's usually the normal number that we have in our leases, that it's on the landlord to fix it. But any minor repairs that are about $150 or less are usually up to you as the tenant to fix. So let's say you're going to live in each of these houses for 7 years. And the reason why we're going to use 7 years is because that's the national average when someone buys a house and they move in before they actually move out and buy a different house. And let's say over this 7-year period for the rental, your rent is going to go up $100 a year every single year, which might be on the extreme side because rents do go up, but typically not that much that fast. But we're going to use that as an example because maybe you move to a different rental or a nicer neighborhood. So let's just use that, okay? And then for the house that you bought, we're going to say your monthly payment's going to go up by $80 a month every single year because of increasing taxes and insurance, which I guarantee you they're going to go up over the years. So even though your mortgage payment remains the same, your taxes and insurance will rise over the years that you own the house. So if you were going to buy the house, your grand total for the 7 years just for the mortgage payments would be $182,784. Versus if you rent the house with that ever-increasing rent, you're looking at $235,200. That's a $52,416 difference. And remember, when you own the house, you're also going to be building equity the entire time you're living there. So a small portion of your payment each month is going to go towards the principal and how much you actually owe on your loan, which is going to work in your favor whenever you go to sell the house. So we're talking a $52,000 savings over the course of 7 years. But you have to remember that when you own the house, there are a lot of things that can come up that can cost you a lot more. This is not including any type of flood insurance, which in a lot of areas you do need to have here in Florida, and it can be very costly. It also doesn't include any type of natural disaster that might not be included under your insurance that you might have to repair for, hurricane being a big one, because even if you have flood insurance, if you don't have hurricane insurance, you can still be denied a claim because these insurance companies are basically full of shit and their goal is to just suck as much money out of you as possible. Insurance is a scam, in my opinion. However, we're not going to get into that. This also doesn't include any of the repairs I said before. If your house needs a new roof, if you need a new water heater, you need a new appliances, whatever might happen, plumbing issues, electrical issues. So you're basically betting that over that 7-year time frame that you're not going to have more than $52,000 worth of repairs on the house. And $52,000 sounds like a lot, and it is, but over 7 years, I wouldn't be surprised if you would need to invest that amount of money into a house for miscellaneous repairs and upkeep and maintenance, especially if you do have a pool. Neither one of these houses have a pool, but if they did, I guarantee you that number could easily be surpassed in repairs and upkeep. I have to say, even though I wasn't expecting Miami to be a yes for this, and when you look at just the numbers of what it costs monthly to own versus to rent over the 7-year period, it definitely is cheaper. However, if you include the down payment that you had to put to make that payment cheaper, then it's going to actually cost you more, because even though you have a $52,000 savings off the monthly, if you include that $80,000 you had to put down just to move into the house, now it's going to cost you $30,000 more roughly to buy a house here than it would to rent for those 7 years. So my outlook and my advice on this type of situation is always sort of the same. You have to really dig into the numbers like this and the nitty gritty to see which one's really going to be right for you. And you also have to try to think ahead to see, am I going to stay in this neighborhood for a long time? Do you plan on living there for a while? Because the less time you live in a house that you buy, then the more money you're going to end up losing when it comes time to sell. So when you buy a house, the general rule of thumb is you want to own it for as long as possible, at least 7 to 10 years if possible, and that'll really allow you some time to build up some equity and hopefully gain some appreciation in the local market that you're looking to buy in. So what do you guys think after this video? Do you think it's actually cheaper to buy a house here in Miami than it is to rent? I'm still on the fence because of all those different scenarios we just talked about. I think when you look at just the monthly, obviously it is, but when you look at the actual down payment it costs to get into the house and all the monthly expenses that could possibly come up at your own expense when you own the house, I would say you're probably almost breaking even over those 7 years. But let me know what you guys think. In the meantime, check out one of my other videos they might not have seen right over here, and I'll see you guys over there.